Kia ora, good evening and welcome to the Huddy Hui this Wednesday night. A lot colder than last Wednesday, but we're heading into round 7 of the Swindale Shield, and it's going to be an absolute pleasure to bring you one of those games this weekend. Now, one of our guests on the Hui has been one of the dynamic players for the Johnsonville Hawks. He hails from Ireland, and he's been one of their dynamic players for the last 4 years. Niall Delahunt is our guest on the Huddy Hui tonight. Niall, many thanks for coming on. Now, you haven't played for a few weeks, particularly since round 4 against Petone. Have you been carrying an injury?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, Chad. Brad, yeah, it's good to be here. Yeah, I pulled my hamstring in the 79th minute of that game. So it's put me out for a couple of weeks, but hoping to be back this week. Probably rushing it back, but we've got Tawa this week, which is always a big game. So looking forward to that.
And that injury, how serious was it? Was it just a slight tear?
I don't know. Probably not too bad. I'll be rushing it back probably. I put my hamstring in the preseason as well and came back after a couple of weeks. So it's probably just a reoccurring thing. Probably do more rehab as the physio would advise, but we'll see how it goes.
It was a vital win over the Avalon Wolves last weekend. How challenging was that game out at Fraser Park?
Yeah, it was hard fought. They're actually probably an underrated side. They're quite good. They're always quite physical, and it got a bit nitty gritty in that game, which I enjoy. Obviously, I wasn't playing, but I do like to see a bit of oomph in the game. I kind of live off that a little bit. Keeps me interested, as you may know from the Petone game. But no, yeah, we got 5 points, which is you can't ask for more. But yeah, it's good. It was good to get 5 points on the board.
It was a vital win too, considering that you'd lost to Oris at home and Petone as well. What are the learnings from those two games that you lost?
Well, I wouldn't be too worried, really. Like, we lost to OBU the first game, so we lost to probably 3 teams that are most likely going to be the top 3 teams in the league. So, like, I'm not sour about it. I don't think we have any reason to be too upset about it. They're like, if there were teams that we thought we could have beat on the day, they just completely outplayed us. And then 3 games we have won. Unfortunately, the teams were the bottom 3 teams. We've been in that position for 3 years. I think we won my first 2 years. We won 3 or 4 games, so we know exactly how those teams feel. So now all the rest of the games are kind of fighting for maybe a top 8 spot, really, and it's quite close. There's not many points in between 4th and 8th at the moment, or even 9th. So we'll just kind of grind it out for the next few games.
I know you don't want to, but let's talk about that second half against Petone. You last 12 minutes, they only had 12 players. What did you learn from when you have 15 against 12 in that game where you had opportunity to win it?
Yeah, I think we butchered a couple 2-on-1s, even a 3-on-1, I think. I know, it just shows you what Petone can do. They're three men down, numerical advantage that we have. They still pulled it through. Just shows you what they can do, really. And I guess, yeah, we might have just been a bit rusty. We missed Ollie, our captain, went off, or second vice captain, he went off. He's kind of a pretty important link in that midfield. He's usually given me the calls to where to go. So maybe I was a bit lost. We could have capitalized a bit more, but yeah, no, like if we met Petone again, it might be a different game. But they just completely outplayed us on the day. They were brilliant.
And how far away is Ollie from returning to the field?
I texted him yesterday. I think he's hoping to be back this week. I think he went off in the first 5 or 10 minutes of that game. So that's another injury. Him and Kuso would have been our centres from last year. Kuso's hoping to be back this week as well. So we've a couple of players hoping to be back in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully this week.
There's been a few games this season where, particularly early on, Johnsonville get off to an absolute flyer, like you did at OBU. But what have you learnt about maintaining that dominance throughout their game?
Well, I don't know if it's a fitness thing, maybe, because we started our preseason, I think, in October, November. So I don't know, maybe a bit of game management. But if you want to be a competitive Jubilee team, you gotta play 80 minutes. Like you saw us against our semi-finals against Ori's last year, we were 23 points up, I think, and then they just turned it on in the second half. Where they scored, I think, 39 unanswered points. So it just shows you can play for 40 or 60 minutes. You could put all these points on, and it doesn't really make any difference if you can't finish it out. Which we learned the hard way a couple of times.
Season 2023. Blue was on fire throughout the club last year. How special was that year for the Hawks? And what has been behind the resurgence of Johnsonville?
Well, but when we came 4 years ago, we still had, like, we were losing every game by cricket scores, and we were still getting turnouts on each game, really. And then, I don't know, out of last year, I don't know what happened. We just started winning, and then the crowds got bigger and bigger, and then just players came out of nowhere, fans came out of nowhere. They wanted to watch a winning team, and then we played Tawa at home and then Ori's at home, and if you look up on the Johnsonville Terrace, it was just full of people. It's really cool to get those kind of play for those people who've kind of been to Johnsonville through a tough couple of years, and just give them kind of, obviously, whatever your team wants to give their fans is like even just a win. If it's a good win or a bad win, it's just any sort of win. But yeah, last year was special because you walk into the club rooms after a game, and people you wouldn't even know coming up and shaking your hand, and then you're going to see how much it meant to them, that you just know that they've been through a tough couple of years following Johnsonville, and finally we can kind of give something back.
Hell Park, a tough fortress. Tell us about that amphitheatre when you run out there and play.
It's good. Yeah, we try to. I suppose every team likes to think of their home ground as a fortress. I think we won most of our games away last year. We lost, obviously, our last game, and but we played some good. We beat OBU for the first time in I don't know how long at home. And there was another we beat Huddy Hui for the first time, I think, in 18 years at home. That was pretty good. So we're kind of setting all these new kind of records that hadn't been broken since the last time Johnsonville really had a good run at the league. We're probably like 15, 18 games. I think Batoni is the only game we haven't won in about 20 years now. So we're obviously a bit sore that we lost to them this year. But yeah, it's good, like, hearing that crowd there. We're probably, between us and Ori's, I think we've the loudest crowds. So that's why it's good having them home or away, because they're the nice competitive side and crowds.
Ori Tarongatai, you had them in the semi-final, a sea of blue around the ground. How tough was it in that second half when you had such a big lead? And what do you learn about those moments where you're in the pressure cooker?
Well, I actually got sin binned in the last play of the first half. I was offside.
That's right, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was offside on our own line, and then I didn't come back on. So the learnings is just don't take me off.
Keep you on. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Now, you have a unique partnership. I call it the Irish partnership with Mark Sutton. How important is this partnership for the Hawks team? The two fly halves, halfbacks.
The two hobbits.
The two.
I know, like Mark leads. Yeah, Mark's fair. Like, as you see, he's leading the Player of the Year points at the moment, so he fairly leads the team around. I kind of get my advice from outside. I wouldn't be much of a. You were saying I was dynamic at the start of the chat. I would not be flattering. Really, I'm more distributional. I'll just pass to the fast guys, or kick it really. It's really the hardest part, I think, is Mark just directing the forwards around, which is kind of probably the most important part of any game. But yeah, I'll just do as I'm told. Really, I do it if it's coming from Mark or if it's coming from the back. So I'll just kind of be that link man. Do whatever I can.
You're both close friends as well. Tell us about growing up in Ireland.
Yeah, we played together under 6s or 7s in our home club called Nice, and I don't even think we were great friends back then. Up until we went to secondary school, and in first year, yeah, we just I don't know kicked it off, and then that was 6 years, and then went to different universities, but neither of us made any friends in university, so we just kept trucking along, and then eventually Mark played for a different team in Ireland for a couple of years. Then he came and played back at our youth team, Nice. And we were facing relegation the year of COVID, so COVID actually cancelled that season. So our team was quite lucky that the season was called off. And then Andy Ellis was over in Ireland the year before that. And he ended up staying in my house, and sure, obviously got to know Mark. And then when he was going back to Ireland or going back to here, he just said, "Here, come on over." So we didn't really think twice about it. We just packed the bags, booked the short notice flight, and now we're here.
What is school rugby like in Ireland, and what school did you go to?
What same school as Mark was Newbridge College. It's actually it's pretty good actually. We made it to the semi-finals of the it's called the Senior Cup over there, and that was pretty good. I think we got to play in front of a crowd of I think 10,000 maybe, which is pretty huge. Considering for 18-year-olds or even might have been a few 16 or 17-year-olds on the pitch. But yeah, our year was pretty competitive. The team that won it out, they must have had about 4 or 5 players who played for Ireland now. The team they beat in the final, again another 2 or 3. So the year we came through was pretty competitive year. And I don't think Jimmy O'Brien, who's playing for Ireland now at the moment, he was our 10 that year. So he's our claim to fame that we say we played with. But yeah, because rugby's pretty good. There's a big following actually.
And club rugby over there in Ireland, you played just out of Dublin. How different is club rugby in Ireland compared to club rugby here in Wellington?
Oh, geez, it's so much faster here. That's one thing, and there's the few bigger boys running at you. When I first came over, I used to be a winger fullback back when I was a little bit faster. And when I first arrived, I kind of realized I didn't want to be tackling all these big guys. So I said I was a scrum half, but Andy told the coach I wasn't, so I got stuck out in the wing anyway, and then I was still tackling the lads. But my speed started to deteriorate after a while, so that moved me into 10. Then I've made more tackles in the last 2 years than I have in 15 years of rugby. But I think number 8 and anyone off a line out sees me as a target. So that didn't work out great for me. But yeah, the rugby in Ireland is a lot more, structured really. Like it's just forwards, platform, then maybe kick. And then over here it's a bit more free. Like you're encouraged to run it. If you run it out of your 22, you can kind of have a crack from anywhere really. You're encouraged to. So I suppose it's a bit more fun. I'm sure we weren't even intending to play rugby over here, which is unusual. We come all the way over to New Zealand and not play rugby, but I probably a bit more enjoyable here. Just kind of how expansive it is, and it's not as cold in the winter.
Yeah, I can imagine. So now you mentioned that you weren't intending to play rugby over here. How did you get the call up to Johnsonville?
Well, the coach at the time was Roy Kinnikilau, and they were planning a trip up to I think Palmerston North maybe, and Andy knew Roy, and he gave us a text and he said, "Oh, I'm going to come on a free trip." So we went to one training session, and said the trip was on a Thursday and the trip was on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it was paid for, so we just went along and then just met a few of the lads, got on great. Had a few nights out and whatever, and then that was us locked in for 4 years.
Now, of course, you also play a bit of Gaelic football. Do you still play? And how physical is that game in sort of connection with rugby?
No, I don't still play. There's a team in Wellington in Wadestown, but I'm out here in Taibay, which is just a bit of a trek to get to. But yeah, no, it's physical. I think playing both growing up obviously complemented each other. But rugby is a lot more physical. Obviously, playing a bit of when you play them both during the season, you might get the rules mixed up, so you might be throwing in a few tackles in Gaelic, and that's obviously not allowed. But yeah, no, Gaelic is fun. It's a fast sport. It's probably a faster sport than rugby. So your fitness levels need to be up. So that's probably if I went back to Ireland and played that now, I wouldn't be up to scratch with fitness.
And also a bit of hurling as well.
Yeah, geez, that's even faster again. But no, I was technically I wasn't a very skilled hurler. I just kind of run around. I was fast and fit back then, so I just run around and make nuisance of myself. But no, that's a good sport. If you can watch a hurling game and watch a few highlights of that, it's a brilliant game to watch.
Halfback, first five, fullback, wing. These are the positions you played for the Hawks. What is your preferred position and why?
Well, I used to enjoy fullback, but I think competition in that position kind of moves you out of it. The likes of I don't know Jacob, Bomsey, and Andy. I think the only people who played there this year. And Jack Philippa. But yeah, 10. I enjoy 10. Just kind of catch it and pass it. I'm not too. I'm not the fastest or biggest or even the fittest. So I think in those other positions you need to be a bit more of one of those things. So no, I'm vocal on the pitch. I like to be a bit loud. Kind of keeps me interested in the game. And I know I like getting into the thick of it a little bit. I feel a bit like kind of too far away from the game if I'm a fullback or on the wing now. So I think 10 is probably my favourite position.
What do you enjoy the most about the style of rugby in New Zealand?
Oh, geez, the speed of it is just I don't know. It's just so different to Ireland, and you can kind of I don't know you've kind of a license to do whatever you want. Well, not whatever you want, but like you can have a crack. It's more, as I said, it's more encouraged to you can run it from your own trial. I think against a couple of times last year, from our own trial line, we ran a couple. I wasn't probably involved, but we ran a couple of tries our whole full length of the pitch. Thankfully, it paid off more often than not last year. This year, yeah, we'll give it a crack as well. But yeah, no, I think just how kind of if someone wants to have a go, they're more than welcome. If you put your hand up, if we have a scrum on our own 5 and someone says, "Give me the ball," we're like, "Yep, go on, you can have a go." But in Ireland, it's more like kick it down there, set up a platform. Probably a few mauls, and there's not as many mauls over here. Well, we've conceded a few mauling tries, but yeah, I think it's just more. It's just a bit more fun.
Who are some of the characters in the Hawks team?
Characters? Oh, geez, you wouldn't want to see Mark Sutton on a courty. Jesus, I wouldn't go into that. And yeah, we had our court session after the Ories game, and geez, I wouldn't want to get into too much detail, but characters, that's a hard one to say. There's a couple, all right. Lucas in the front row is always a good laugh in the changing room. Then yeah, the English lads who came over are a good crack as well. Regan and Finn. Yeah, just the whole team really. That's one thing about us is you get on with anyone. You could kind of go for a beer with one-on-one with anyone on the team. Really, there's no one really too much of a stickler. Apart from Jacob, he doesn't drink.
Yeah, speak about Jacob. What's it like having a speedster like him when he gets the ball in hand? He's pretty hard to stop.
Yeah, it's just like a get out of jail card, really. You can just pass them. Like if it was 1-on-1, even 1 versus 2, you'd nearly give him the ball just because he can end up anywhere on the pitch. So, you can call a move, but if you just end up passing him the ball, it's kind of you're guaranteed to make a few yards anyway. The only trouble is trying to keep up with him when he makes a break.
Yeah, exactly. What has been your best game for the Hawks to date?
Well, we beat OBU we beat OBU twice last year. When we were fairly written off, I think. We beat them in the quarters of the Jubilee, which is good. I think we just clicked that day. Not often like you kind of get those games where everyone kind of plays well, everyone clicks together, game plan works. Yeah, that was a pretty great day. And then and then also maybe in our first year here when we got Johnsonville's first win in 3 or 4 years, I think.
Yep.
I think we beat Avalon or Axemen maybe. That was pretty good.
Yeah. What is known in New Zealand as a strong connection with the Irish community here in New Zealand. What involvement do you have with fellow Irish people and Irish rugby people in New Zealand?
We would actually have a fellow clubmate Shane Thompson who plays for MSP. He played for Nace back at home as well. We tried to get him over to Johnsonville, but he enjoyed it over MSP too much. And then we joined. We played a bit of Gaelic football here when we first joined over, came over, and we met a couple of Irish lads. And then through work, we had an Irish boss. I was labouring when I first came over. We had an Irish foreman, and he only hired Irish people. So we had a little army. So we got to know a couple of lads there, and we're still friends with them 4 years later. So that was good. There's a pretty big community. There's a Facebook group and everything like Irish dancing, and not that we're go to any of those things, but like there seems to be a large community over here.
Now, in last year's Jubilee Cup semi-final, you were given the captaincy for that game. What does leadership teach you about a person?
I don't know who told you that. I think Mark might have been given. Yeah, because Hammy was captain. I can't remember because Hammy didn't play that game. I don't know who actually was captain.
I think he played that Swindale Shield game, didn't he? And he couldn't play. I think,
yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
And then Andy. I think Andy was our captain, but he wasn't starting. I can't remember who captain was that game. But I know it wasn't me. I don't think I'd be trusted with that role. If I'd be fond of making a rash decision. All right.
What's the best ever try you've scored?
I haven't scored many tries. I have to tell you that. You said it at the start of the Petone game. I think of 6 tries over here, maybe 7 tries or something. But maybe against them. Upper Hut, or no, probably the Orioles game actually again last year. Just because how fired up we were, but I think it's probably we were too fired up for that game that we probably burned out. Those like scrappy. All my tries have been quite scrappy. None of them are flash runaway tries really. I'm not the Jacob Olmsey or the Andy Ellis of the team. I'm the more might go under the radar.
Yeah. Now you've been in Wellington for 4 years. What do you do work-wise and outside of rugby? I
work for corrections, actually, the ministerial team, which isn't as exciting as it sounds. Then outside of rugby, kind of have a 2-year-old, and my partner's 8 months pregnant, so she's just started maternity leave this week. So she's ready to pop. So we'll see how that works in with the last couple of games of the league. But yeah, no, that kind of takes up all my time at the moment.
This weekend, it's a big grudge match against Tawa at Lyndhurst Park for the Carmen Cup. How are the Hawks preparing for this encounter? And in particular, knowing that both these teams are in a similar position in the competition, and a win this Saturday will be helpful getting into the Jubilee Cup in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, I suppose we're probably prepared as normal. As I said, like I think the top 3 and the bottom 3 are kind of set at the moment, but It's kind of the middle pack teams are kind of fighting for that, maybe that fourth spot for that home semi-final. I know MSP are doing quite well as well, and then Huddy Hui boys are up there as well. So it's those, if we can, like, a win, 5-point win, or even a 4-point win could put 8th place to maybe 5th place, depending on results and stuff like that. So I know, like, just like to think there's no, as last year there was no pressure on us last year. And for some reason we kept winning. I think we're thinking the same this year. Hopefully there's no pressure on us, but there's a little bit of pressure to kind of prove that last year wasn't a bit of a fluke. But yeah, I know, we know Tower are good, like, and we stole their physio this year, so I think they're gonna try and send us the message.
Well, Niall, it's been fantastic having you on the Huddy Hui tonight. All the best against Tower this weekend and for the rest of the season, and hopefully we'll see you around.
Great, thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you. That was Niall Delahunt, and what a fantastic team Johnsonville were last year, and let's hope they can continue on their merry way. Now, if you probably noticed, we've actually got our audio interface back now, so we can actually call in people to preview the rounds for round 7, the Swindale Shield, and our usual person is Adam Julian. Adam, can you hear me?
Kia ora, Brad. It's good to be back on the show.
Oh, it is. When technology behaves itself, it's always important to make sure it all goes right. So how's your week been?
It's been fantastic, Brad, and I'm looking forward to Saturday. I'm at Parramatta Plymouth this weekend, Old Timers Day. The Eagles are travelling to the Ngāti Toa Domain, and Huddy Boys in terrific form. 5 wins from 6 matches to start the season.
Yes, and let's have a look at the games this weekend in the Swindale Shield. We have Avalon versus the Billy Goats. Avalon back at home again. They put up a big fight against the Hawks last weekend, but one would think that the Billy Goats would be too strong for this encounter.
Best performance of the season by Avalon, so they can take a lot of encouragement from their efforts. Thomas Kawada, the coach, playing first 5, kicked 9 points, and Ezra Andrews on the wing was a revelation in that game. He scored 2 tries, but ultimately Johnsonville had too much firepower. Young Jacob Kennedy scoring 2 tries for the Hawks. Old Boys University, they were ruthless in their demolition of Upper Hutt last Saturday. Louis Calvert, the hooker, scored 10 tries. Their loose forward trio is dynamic and settled, and Callum Parkin playing the kind of rugby that saw him win the Billy Wallace Award for the best and fairest player in the competition 2 years ago. The students should be too strong for winless Avalon.
And of course, that's what I'm going as well for that game, the Billy Goats to win. Next up is Northern United versus Porneki. Both these teams lost last weekend, but Norths losing by 88 points to 14 to Petone, Adam. Back at home, but they'll be hurting after that game, and they'll be looking to bounce back.
North's much better than that scoreline suggests. Surely that's a staggering result for the Jubilee Cup champions just 2 years ago. In fact, remember, they beat Petone 23-20 in 2022, and now they've lost by 74 points, and they were down 47-7 at half-time. They do have some good players in their team. Luca Reese is only 9 tries short of a century of premier tries. Callum Watts-Pointer has played representative rugby for Horowhenua Kapiti. Johnny Talianga is a Centurion. So those guys in particular need to step up and deliver a much better performance against a Porneki side who were very competitive against Parramatta Plymouth last Saturday and would have been disappointed not to win that game. Max Rogers is a nice fullback. Caleb Robson has passed 50 games. Carlos Hihi, vibrant first 5'8", and they've got a typically impressive and industrious loose forward trio, Porneki, spearheaded by Daniel Taupu. So I suspect the Street Kids will get up and win that game.
And that's what I'm picking as well too. They were probably, except for the last 10 minutes against Parramatta last week, they fell away and they put up a gutsy performance to Porneki, but I think they'll definitely win out at Jerry Collins. Next up, of course, our guest tonight, Niall Delahunt. He's back from a hamstring injury. And Johnsonville, they're playing host. Oh, they've actually got to go out to Tawa this weekend out at Lyndhurst Park. Tawa, of course, led Hutt Old Boys most of the way, and then Hutt got some points later in the game to go ahead, and then there was a missed kick by Kemara Horiti Parapara that could have stolen the win for Tawa, so they fell short at the Hutt Rec. But Johnsonville, they got back on their winning ways last week against Avalon. They've had two big losses, Oris, and they should have beaten Batoni a few weeks ago too. Your thoughts on this one, because this is a real grudge match, this one.
It's a massive day at Lyndhurst Park, Old Timers Day at Tawa. Kemara Horiti Parapara celebrates his 100th match. He scored 342 points and played in 63 wins for Tawa. Scandalously, in 2021, he scored 26 of Tawa's 36 points in the Jubilee Cup final, a record-breaking performance against MSP, and somehow he didn't win the Jim Brown Memorial Medal for Player of the Match. Jim Brown also is a trophy that Oris and Batoni play for, so his influence stretches far and wide. If you look at the table, Brad, this game is possibly the most important fixture of the round. You've got 4 teams with 5 wins, Hutt Old Boys, Marist, OBU, Batoni and Marist St Pat's. And then you have Oris, Paraplum, Porneki, Johnsonville, Upper Hutt, Tawa and Wainui separated by only 9 points. So the winner of this game will have a massive advantage over that chasing pack moving forward in the competition. Tawa, as we know, tend to peak later in the season, and they could get the services of Hugo Plummer and PJ Sheck back from Super Rugby towards the end of the season. Those two not often involved for the Blues and the Highlanders, respectively. So I think Tawa can carry on the momentum that they gained from Hutt and possibly win that game at home against the Hawks.
And I'm actually going to go Johnsonville there because with the luck of the Irish on the show tonight. So, but interesting. That game is going to be real crucial for the outlook for the remainder of the first round, Swindale Shield. Next up, of course, is going to be Upper Hutt versus Marist St Pat's. Now, Upper Hutt and Marist St Pat's, well, they've had some interesting games over the years. Marist St Pat's up against some of their former comrades at Wellington last week, how they narrowly won. Upper Hutt, of course, were trailing on the scoreboard against OBU for a while, but they fought their way back, but they lost that game. Out at Maidstone Park, an impressive facility out there now. The money that Wayne Guppy and the council put in has made that facility outstanding. Your thoughts on this game, because this could go either way.
I agree with that sentiment, Brad. Marist St Pat's, by all accounts, lucky to beat Wellington last Saturday. Jaden Kinney, the winger, scored 2 length of the field tries. Marist St Pat's, a little more orthodox and dogged in their approach. Charlie Hankins, the hooker, and Ivan Pepuliati, the prop, scored from rolling mauls. So Marist St Pat's very organised at set piece. Upper Hutt have struggled with their discipline in recent weeks, so I'll have to watch that. Upper Hutt smashed by OBU 48-22 last Saturday, but they do have Itatai Campbell back in midfield alongside Emmanuel Solomona, so if they can get some ball, they might be able to challenge Marist St Pat's as Wellington did last Saturday. Tight won this contest, but I suspect the Scarlets might narrowly prevail.
Yes, and I'm going to go the Scarlets as well, Marist St Pat's, to take that one out. Of course, Wainui Mata caused a massive scalp last weekend out at Miramar. They bet Oriental Rongotai. They're back at home. They've got the Bill Bryan Challenge Cup now, and of course they're playing against Wellington, who narrowly lost to MSP. Wainui, they're a gutsy side, and Wellington have shown that they're vastly improved, but at William Jones Park, I think Wainui will be too strong.
I tend to agree, though Wellington might target Wainui Mata as a possible victory in their itinerary. Wainui Mata on 13 points, 9 points outside the top 5, so they are a long way from the top echelon of the competition. But last Saturday, they shocked Oris, the Jubilee Cup champions. Daniel Sinkinson scored 2 tries for Wainui Mata. He won't be available. He's been summoned back to the Hurricanes on Friday night, as has Peter Umaga Jensen. So that does weaken Wainui Mata, but they showed enough when we were over the hill a fortnight ago, Brad, to suggest that they're a very competitive side, experienced, dogged forwards, and some good, keen youngsters making a difference in their lineup, notably Braden Soy and Keanu Katoti, the young halfback. So Wainuiomata at William Jones Park, and Terry Time's 195th game to consign Wellington to yet another defeat.
And, well, of course, we've already had 200 games out there this season as well. Jason Love back a fortnight ago. What a special occasion that one was. Now, of course, the game that you're going to be out at this weekend, Adam, is Parramatta Plymouton against Huddy Old Boys Marist. Huddy Old Boys just the one loss this season, top of the charts. Parramatta Plymouton, they seem to be building quite nicely. They seem to be getting a bit of structure back in their game. And being Old Timers Day out there, it's going to be a pretty special occasion for the Hammerheads.
It sure is. And there's going to be pyrotechnics in this game, Brad, because the back lines on display are awesome. So running the cutter for Parramatta Plymouton is Sam Clark. He's played for Manawatu in the MPC. Brandon Lawson, who marked his 150th game this year, is running the show for Huddy Old Boys Marist. Keenan Higgins and Dale Sabag feature in midfield, and then Essie Comer-Masai out wide for Oriental Rongotai, playing superb rugby as it's the Huddy Old Boys Marist winger Fritz Rayasi. So this game, I suspect, will have a lot of tries. Huddy Old Boys Marist have been very strong in the forwards this year, and that's perhaps where they'll look to target Parramatta Plymouton, especially at line-out time, where they have been vulnerable this season, but significantly, Lenny Apasai has been playing for Parramatta Plymouton the last fortnight, and it's no coincidence that their line-out has steadied in that period, and they've won their last two matches. Key match for Parramatta Plymouton, because they're on 20 points, one of those five teams fighting for the last two spots in the Swindale Shield. So I suspect Parramatta Plymouton might just nudge this one.
And I've gone with that one as well, actually. And, of course, the game that we're covering on Huddy Sports this Saturday is Old Timers Day again out here at Tower, out at Petone. And that's Petone taking on Oriental Rongotai. Your thoughts on this game? Because Petone look like they're going to be out without the services of Harry Godfrey this weekend.
And potentially Nani Punavai and Belgian Tutungaloa and Riley Higgins and Peter Larkai. They've certainly got a star-studded roster when all their options are available. It would seem absurd to bet against Petone in this game, given they scored 88 against Norths last Saturday, 60 against Wainuiomata prior to that, and put 40 points on Old Boys University this year. But we know that those professionals make a huge difference, and those professionals in the Ori side went somewhat missing last Saturday. They did have Dominic Ropetti and Sione Halulule, their two best players, but were upstaged by a more committed and precise Wainuiomata side. Ori's on 22 points, again, residing somewhat uncomfortably in that congested part of the middle table. So without their leading players, and Ori's historically responding very strongly to adverse performances, I'm picking the Magpies to win this. Mind you, in saying that, you were at the game between Johnsonville and Petone, where Petone were well and truly deprived of their leading players, and they scored a resounding victory, and they got a number of youngsters who have been outstanding alongside their star-studded cohort, including Braith Ingram out of Gisborne Boys High School. He's made a big impression down here. Connor Tuiafel, young flanker as well, playing some excellent rugby.
Yes, exactly. And they've got plenty of depth for Petone, so I'm actually going to go them. Well, that's for obvious reasons, but it should be a good day out there at Petone. Now, of course, Adam, we've got it's into the final weekend of first 15 grading games around Wellington, and of course, strangely enough, Tawa and Parramatta sorry, gotta get my P's mixed up here. Parapara Umu have gone through already to Div 1. Tawa knocking over St. Pat's Town last week. What's going on?
Well, these two results were absolutely sensational, Brad. Parapara Umu College, when I phoned them on Sunday morning had no idea the last time they were in Premier 1. They had to do some investigating. None of the teaching staff knew, but one of the local publicans told us that the last time Paraparaumu College was in Premier 1 rugby was in 1989. In 1989, U2 were the biggest band in the world, so that's how long ago it was since Paraparaumu were in Premier 1. But they've been building for the best part of 3 years. They've got a terrific coach, and he's taken a group through with him for 4 years. They won the under-65 Premier Division 3 years ago, and that was unheard of. Last year, they were very competitive in the Premier 2 final, lost narrowly to Silverstream seconds by 5. And this year, they beat Wairarapa in the first round and then stunned Rongotai on Saturday. And they were cruising in that game, Brad. They were ahead by 29-5 before Rongotai predictably roared back. They've got a very experienced back row and a good, strong first 5. And that's the spine of a team that works hard, has a good culture, and achieved a very significant result. In terms of Tawa, their success will be more relatable to local audiences. Cliff Hunt is the coach, and Cliff is a terrific guy. As you know, his nephew Boston Hunt won the Jim Brown medal as the best player in the Jubilee Cup final 2 years ago. His son, Cliff Jr., is in the first 15. He's a second 5, very robust runner and creates a lot of hassle for the defence. And any side coached by Cliff Hunt is going to be well organised in the forwards, and that's indeed what Tawa are. Their hooker is their captain, and they won 3 games in a row in 7 days last week, and that hooker scored a try in each of those games. So they've got good leaders in the right places, and Tawa upsetting St Pat's Town, just a massive result. First time they've ever beaten St Pat's Town in their history.
That's incredible. And, of course, another one here that's interesting, Hutt Valley High School haven't been in the top grade for a number of years, and they've got to play St Bernard's College to qualify. And that's a good Hutt Valley derby, that one. I wonder if they're putting they're making that a traditional as well. That would be interesting to see, because that's one of both of those colleges' main traditionals.
Well, 2017 was the last time Hutt Valley High were in the main division. They were 5th in Premier 2 last year, so it's a significant jump for them if they are to qualify. Their progress is perhaps best illustrated by their results against their local rivals down the road, St Bernard's. So 3 years ago, they were beaten 86-0 by St Bernard's. Last year, they won by 8 points, Hutt Valley High School. So they've had a dramatic turnaround in fortunes. They went from 2 teams 2 years ago to 5 teams last year. So there's definitely evidence of growth, and with more depth, of more stability, of more talent, they're a chance of upsetting St Bernard's, especially given, Brad, that you've now left the college and you can't give them inspirational chats during social studies.
No, that's right. I can't do that anymore. But speaking about First 15 rugby, our old school was playing its second traditional of the year up at Palmerston North this weekend. They're going pretty well. Just one loss this season against Fielding, but they've won 4 in a row now. If they're probably going to be the dominant side of Wellington again this year, Silverstream. But to sum up their season, this game against Palmerston North is one where they're going to have to bring their A game, aren't they?
Absolutely. So St Pat Silverstream have this thing they try and achieve every season called a Grand Slam, and that is 6 victories in their annual traditional fixtures. They've started 2023 with a win in Christchurch against St Bede's. Last year they swept all 6 games, and on Saturday they played unbeaten Palmerston North, which is the second of those 6 fixtures. But the 3 games in Wellington, judged on pre-season form, look very winnable at this stage. And Plymouth Boys High School, not the strongest this year, although I note they had a win in their big local derby today, 26-7 against Francis Douglas. Silverstream, very fine school, led superbly by Thomas Tukapua and Drew Berg McLean. McLean a flanker, Tukapua a first 5. They both scored tries in that victory against Gisborne Boys High School on Saturday. And while talking about Gisborne Boys High School, Brad, it would be remiss of me not to note the passing of Brian Cairns. Brian Cairns died last week at the age of 81. Now, Brian Cairns was a teacher and deputy principal at Gisborne Boys for 32 years. He coached the first 15 from 1977 to 1981. 3 All Blacks passed through in that time, including Victor Simpson and Gordon McPherson, who played 137 games for Otago. Brian Cairns won 79 of 91 games as the boys' high coach. They won the Moaska Cup for the first time in 1980, and his son, Tom Cairns, is now the principal of Gisborne Boys High School. Tom coached the Gisborne Boys first 15 to a national top 4 title in 2007. The score was 35-24 against Melbourne Grammar School. Charlie Nartai, an All Black, later on scored 20 points in that game. That's still a record in a top 4 final. And Tom will be familiar to a lot of the watchers of this program. He's been involved with Poverty Bay Rugby, Hurricanes Rugby, absolute champion of a guy, Tom Cairns, and his father was also a very dignified and high achiever. So prayers and thoughts to the Cairns family and all those affected by Brian Cairns' death in Gisborne.
Yes, condolences to the family and the wider community up there in Gisborne. Well, Adam, it's been fantastic having you back. Come on to preview the games. And hopefully the technology works for the rest of the season. Many thanks for calling in.
Ka pai.
Ka pai. So that is Adam Julian, club rugby expert, and he's been a regular on the Huddy Hui since our inception, since 2000. So, well, as always, we'd like to thank our sponsors, as always, Mike Plimfold Plumbing and Drain Laying Limited, and Louise Reddy of New Zealand Travel Brokers. If you're looking for any travel bookings around the place or any plumbing and drain laying work, give Mike Pimfold and Louise Reddy a call. At the end of this, Hui will put up their details in the next few sites. As always, we're always on the hunt out for sponsors. We're ever growing here at Huddy Sports, and exciting things are happening around Wellington and outside of Wellington as well. So if you're willing to help us out and sponsor us to keep our cameraman and all that prepared and keep it free on YouTube, please go to huddysports.co.nz or email huddysportsnz@gmail.com. Well, that is the Huddy Hui for tonight. Have a look out tomorrow night. We're going to have an extended Huddy Hui tomorrow night. It's going to be a pre-recorded episode, but have a look around 8 o'clock tomorrow night. We'll advertise it, won't leak too much, but not every time that we have 2 Huis in a row. So look forward to watching that later on tomorrow around 8 o'clock. Well, that has been the Huddy Hui for tonight. Many thanks to Niall Delahunt for coming on as our guest from the Johnsonville Hawks. And hopefully you've enjoyed this episode of the Huddy Hui on Huddy Sports YouTube. I'm Brad Hudson. Ciao for now.